Hey y'all, it's Steve, Hobo with Wood, and in this video we're going to talk about why you can't get your boxes to work with the slots and tabs resizing tool in Lightburn. And I'm going to show you two workarounds that's going to save you a lot of time, trouble, and headache, so stay tuned. So a lot of us already have files saved in our jobs or our art library that we've created on boxes.py or other box generator files that we've had for a while, but now with the option to resize those slots and tabs, we'd love to use those files on different material thicknesses, but you just can't get that tool to work. Well, I figured out a couple of workarounds and I'm going to share those with you now. I imagine that Lightburn will get these hiccups worked out as they've just introduced this tool and know about these issues. So I imagine they're working on a workaround. But let me show you what I do in the meantime. So let's jump into Lightburn. All right, so this is a box that I have that I call my forever box. And the idea is they use it every Christmas and they take turns on who's gifting who. So to you from me, and it's something you reuse every Christmas. It's a tradition. But right now I'm wanting to change the slots and tabs and make this out of some thicker hardwoods, and I cannot get this file to work. You've probably had this exact same situation, and I know a lot of you have, because I've been getting emails requesting what to do. So first thing you do when you're trying to use this tool is you make sure everything is ungrouped. And if we've got everything completely ungrouped and you select this and you try to use your resize slots selection, you'll notice that it's not wanting to recognize anything. It says here shapes are not pass or rectangles. Right? Well, we know that because I've got everything selected. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get rid of everything except for just one of the sides of the box, so I can show you what the problem's going on, what the problem is with the entire design. So we center this back to the work page. We zoom in nice and tight. Now on boxes PY and probably other box generators, whenever it creates its design, it will do a couple of things. It will create a radius on these outer corners of the tabs, and it also puts these little loops on the inside of the slots. Now, I don't fully understand why it does that. I imagine it might have somebody figured out that's a better way to get a more even cut or a better fit. I don't know. But these are the two problems with trying to use the tool for resizing slots in Lightburn. So, how do you eliminate this problem? Well, there are a couple of ways you can do that. Now, and priority, as always, matters in Lightburn. You can get rid of these loops really easy by just simply doing an offset. Doesn't matter inward or outward, because you're going to do a zero offset. Do it in corners. Tell it to delete the original objects, and when you do, say OK. Looky there, your loops just disappeared. But you still have these radius up here, and it's not going to work with those. So if we come back now, and another issue too is when you do your offset with zero offset, you got to come back into edit. Nope, this one didn't do that yet. All right, forget I just said that. Go into tools, resize slots and selections. Now you can see that it's starting to recognize your slot depth, but we want to change our tab height. And so when you change tab height, it no longer recognizes anything as slots or tabs. And the reason slot depth is a problem is if we look here at this corner, you can see here that it's dropping this down, and we're going to really exaggerate this so it really stands out. We're going to tell it we're going to go to 5 millimeters. See, what happens here is it drops these inner pieces down, but this last corner right here, it doesn't recognize that new dimension of material, and that's going to be a problem. That's not going to allow your design to fit. So undo. Now, how do we get rid of that hiccup? And the way you do that is we need to change the tab height and not the slot depth. But as it stands, Lightburn is not recognizing the tabs. And the reason, or the hiccup here, is that radius. Well, now that we've already done the offset, when we select this and use our radius tool and try to get rid of the radius, it's not letting us do anything. So this is where the priority matters. So I'm going to undo all this. I'm going to zoom in tight so I can see when I get my loops back. There we go. Oh, go back. I went too far. All right, so now we're back to the original shape with the loops. So now, if you click on your radius tool, and doesn't matter what your value is right here, because we're going to undo the radius. Just come up here in the radius when you get your crosshairs and click, and that's going to get rid of your radius. Now you got to do that on every single tab. And it's going to take me just a second, and this is tedious. And I'm not going to do this whole square this way, because I'm going to use the other half of the square to show you a second technique that's not quite as tedious, but depending on where you are with your project and your design, you may need to do one or both of these solutions. So I'm showing you both techniques. And what would be really nice is if we could select multiple radii and just delete them all. But I have not figured out how to do that. I've only been able to figure out how to do one at a time. Okay, now this is that's the top row. All of those have been eliminated. There are no more radius on the top of that. But if you were going to use this technique, you would have to do it on all of them, on all of those tabs. And I'll show you here what happens. There, we've got all those radius eliminated. Now I'm going to do my 0 offset and delete my original object. And now when I select that and we go back to the tool for resizing slots and tabs, there it's showing our slot depth on all 4 sides. But we only modified this top row of tabs, and now when we look at the tabs, see, we've eliminated our circles on all of them because the offset eliminated the circles on all of them, but we only eliminated the radius on the top row. But now it recognizes those as tabs, and we're able to change the tab height. So if you had a 6-sided box and you had all those radius to remove, that gets to be a little cumbersome, quite cumbersome actually. So here's another way you can do this. And this one, the priority is not quite as important, because here I'm just going to continue on with what I've already done. We've already eliminated the slots and tabs. Not eliminated. We've already eliminated the loops, and we've did the offset. And the offset, when you do the offset, that's what changes the ability to change the radius. So now we go back in here and we try to get rid of these radius. It's not going to let us do anything. It's not recognizing that. And I thought about maybe converting it back to a path, but it's already a path. I haven't figured out a way to change the radius. If there's a way and you guys know, after you've done the offset, to change that radius, hey, share it in the comments below. But here's another way to do this. If we take and we go back to resize slots and tabs, since it is seeing the slot depth on the remaining 3 sides, go Go ahead and tell it to do that. And now you can see we've got our tabs all the same length except for these on the outer corners right here. What you can do here, select the entire thing, go into node editing. Actually, you know what, before you do that, you got to draw some toolpaths. So we're going to select our pencil, we're on our toolpath. Now we need to make some paths, toolpaths, literally here, to where we need these nodes to be. And I'm going to bring my cursor in until I get to a crosshair, like so. And I'll start my line, hold my shift button, because when you hold shift, like right now, I'm able to roll around and it's going to be anywhere I want, but I need that to be a perfectly straight line. So watch what happens when I hold shift. It popped right up to a perfectly straight line. All right, so I can now click to end and right click to stop. So there's one toolpath. Need to do the same thing over here. Come in here, get my crosshairs, hold my shift button, right click to stop. Down here, I'm going to need to do it twice. So I'm going to need to come here, holding shift, right click, need to come here, start, holding shift, left click and right click to stop, and again over here. Okay, now with those toolpaths, I don't have to worry about this up here because you can see it's already at its proper location. So now I go into node editing and I need to move these nodes to that toolpath. But I want you to pay attention because you can do this really quickly by selecting all of those nodes that you need to move, then come down to the lower half, hold your shift button, and select those nodes. Now, you can't see the bottom ones, but that doesn't matter because they're all selected. Now, with the way I have my shift and arrow and control arrow buttons set up, I can hit my shift button and arrow right. So move it in, move it in, move it in, move it in. That's close, but not perfect. Now I can use my control arrow and move it in minutely until those lines overlap. Like so. And now if I zoom out, when I did that, it moved those nodes as well. So click anywhere. Now let's select this set of nodes, move over here, hold our shift button, select this set of nodes. Now we're going to shift arrow up and then go in here to our control arrow. And it's moving, but I'm not in so tight that you can see it very well. So I'm going to zoom in really tighter, and the control arrow, continue control arrow. And there you go. Now that one's set. Right click any or left click anywhere. Let's select this pair of nodes or this set of nodes because that radius, that's a lot more than a pair. And hold our shift button again. Select these, shift arrow, shift arrow, and now zoom in nice and tight and control arrow. Okay. Now we're done with our toolpaths. I am curious about something. Delete. Yeah, it looks. Yeah, so there is a difference in your outcome when you do those methods. If you look down here at this corner is looks like that would be a perfect square. From here looks, in fact, go to our measuring tool. If we look at this segment, let's put it in millimeters, 7.17 millimeters. This segment, 7.17 millimeters. So those are equal. But up here where we did the two different methods, there's 9.76 and that's 7.17. So those two different methods are going to yield two different outcomes on your dimensions, on your overall dimensions for your final result. So you probably don't want to mix and match them. But now you see what you have to do if you wanted to fix your current boxes, if they have the loops and the radius, and Lightburn just isn't seeing it. But now you know you don't want to mix and match the two different methods. Pick one or the other. Me personally, because of having to adjust each of those radius individually, or the radii, I think it's radii, I like that second method better. I'll drop those the slot depth and then just select those nodes and move them into the correct location. You can do it pretty quick. In fact, delete. We'll do this real fast. I'll bring this in, add it to the graphic, ungroup everything, real quick again. This time I'm going to do it pretty quick. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my offset and delete my original object. That got rid of my inner loops. Now I'm going to go to slots and tabs, and I'm going to change everything, the slot depth to 3.5 millimeters. And now I'm going to draw my toolpaths. I didn't mean to change that to a toolpath. Let's put you back on the cut path. Select my pencil. Now select toolpath. Now I need to come in here, get my crosshairs. And I don't really need to set up a pair over here. I just need to come down to my opposing corner, start up, and here, and now go to node editing, grab that group, hold my shift key, grab that group. Now come back over here to my toolpath. Zoom in nice and tight. Shift up. That's too far. Now control up. This is actually much quicker than trying to change all those radius on each individual tab. Alright, so that just took care of the bottom. Now I'm going to select those. Hold my shift key, select those, come back down to that same set of toolpaths. Now shift in, control arrow. That's done. So that took care of the bottom and this side. Now I'm going to come up here, select this group of nodes, hold my shift key, come over here, select this, oh, too high, almost too high, and select, oh, undo that. Select that group of nodes, select that group of nodes, zoom in nice and tight, shift arrow down, and control arrow down. Now, if you're wondering about how to set these control features on your shift and arrows, hang around. We'll show you that setup at the end of this. All right, that took care of that. So that's 3 sides. So now I'm going to select that group. Hold your shift button, select that group. Come back up here to your toolpath. Hold shift, arrow, and now hold control, arrow, and bring it in. And you can zoom in real tight. You can see that was close, but that didn't quite get it all the way in. So control arrow, and you can see now it's really moving fast because we're zoomed in so tight. And there we go. That's as close as you're going to get because that's perfect. All right, so now we're done with those tool paths. And we are done with resizing slots and tabs. And if we check those measurements, there is 8.67, 8.67. So now it is uniform, 8.67, 8.67. So you don't want to use both methods on the same piece, but you may find that there's times that you need to use one or both in your design, but make sure you pick one on one object. And actually, you're probably going to want to use one method, period, because if you change this one this way, use the other method on another piece, well, here, well, this is 8.67, you use the other method, well, they're not going to be the same. So this one is not the way that Lightburn suggests on how to make those work. But for me, this is the quickest, the easiest, the fastest, and the way I use it. So that's how I resize my slots, tabs, whenever I'm got an old design that I need to make work with new material, and Lightburn just doesn't seem to want to cooperate. Now, where do I go to set those settings for my shape movement? If you go into your gears, your settings, down here you have your shape movement increments. And this is the control plus arrow. This is just your arrow, and then your shift arrow. And I've got each one getting incrementally smaller. And the control arrow I've got to 0, and that puts it at its most minute amount of movement possible. And you've seen how small those movements were. If you're not zoomed in tight, it almost looks like it's not moving at all, but she's moving. But when you need to get precise positioning, this is where you set those increments. Okay. So I hope you found this helpful and informative. I hope it wasn't too confusing. I hope it answers a lot of questions and maybe stopped some of the emails. I do not mind the questions and the emails, but this one was getting sent in a lot. So that brought this video to be. So if you found this helpful, remember, you can always help support me at patreon.com/hobowithwood. You also have the super thanks feature now down in the YouTube in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our new channel, Laser Maker's Realm, where I promise there's 3 of us contributing to this new channel. A lot of things going on at the other guys' shops, but they're going to be adding more and more videos. And it is a really fun place to be to get free project ideas for your lasers. And every other week we're having live chats, and it's a great place to come and bring those questions to us. And we can try and address them in real time and hopefully save you a little bit of headache. So, as always, thank you for watching. I'm Steve, Hobo with Wood. And until next video, I'm out.